What's up, people? In this video, it's going to be a two-part video. The first part, we're going to take a look at this article from Psychology Today from back in 2011. If it bleeds, it leads, understanding fear-based media. So this is kind of geared towards depression, right? Basically saying that like if you watch the news, you'll be depressed because the media mostly focuses on reporting in a way that makes everything sound bad and scary in order to get people to click or watch or whatever. And obviously, like right now with this whole thing that's going on, it's not really necessary depression as it is panic is what's going on. I expect to see an article like this later when this all blows over, that people will analyze all of the media headlines and, come to the same conclusion. But in real time, March 22nd, we're going to do this right now. So we're going to go over this article first, and then we are going to just do a casual Google search of, the coronavirus and, kind of take a look at the headlines in the articles and see like if this is actually true. I mean, we already know it is true, but we're just going to do it anyway. Okay, news is a money-making industry, one that does not always make the goal to report the facts accurately. Gone are the days of tuning in to be informed straightforwardly about local and national issues. In truth, watching the news can be a psychologically risky pursuit, which could undermine your mental and physical health. Fear-based news stories prey on the anxieties we all have and then hold us hostage. Being glued to the television, reading the paper, or surfing the internet increases ratings and market shares, but it also raises the probability of depression relapse. In previous decades, the journalistic mission was to report the news as it actually happened with fairness, balance, and integrity. However, capitalistic motives associated with journalism have forced much of today's television news to look to the spectacular, the stirring, and the controversial as news stories. It's no longer a race to break the story first or get the facts right. Instead, it's to acquire good ratings in order to get advertisers so that profits soar. This is the idea of clickbait, right? So two things right here. This article talks about depression, right? Which is, if any of you are interested in self-development, self-improvement, you'll hear that a lot of people go on I think it's called like a news diet or something, where they don't watch the news or read the news at all for 30 days. They don't do it, and it's supposed to improve your mental health for this reason exactly, that you're not exposed to any of these things that are going on in the world that may or may not have anything to do with you. Now it's a little bit different because there are like global effects to this, as imposed by society, not necessarily from the virus itself. Anyway, so it's the idea that like you should take a break from it to improve your mental health. News programming uses a hierarchy of if it bleeds, it leads. Fear-based news programming has two aims. The first is to grab the viewer's attention. In the news media, this is called the teaser or headline. The second aim is to persuade the viewer that the solution for reducing the identified fear will be in the news story. If a teaser asks, what's in your tap water that you need to know about? A viewer will likely tune in to get the up-to-date information to ensure safety. The success of fear-based news relies on presenting dramatic anecdotes in place of scientific evidence, promoting isolated events as trends, depicting categories of people as dangerous, and replacing optimism with fatalistic thinking. Does this remind you of anything that's going on right now? I wonder. News conglomerates who want to achieve this use media logic by tweaking the rhythm, grammar, and presentation format of news stories to elicit the greatest impact. Did you know that some news stations work with consultants who offer fear-based topics that are pre-scripted, outlined with point-of-view shots, and have experts at the ready? This practice is known as stunting or just add water reporting. Often, these practices present misleading information and promote anxiety in the viewer. So one thing is that they're not necessarily presenting untrue information. They're not just straight up lying. But if you have, let's say you have a story and there's 100 things about the story and you focus on 5 or 6 of the most fear-inducing elements, for perfect example, like all these people that died in Italy, like sucks for them really actually, but like they focus on how many deaths are in Italy, how many people died today, how many people are overall infected, without mentioning that the median age of the people was 80 and a half years old. And 50% of them had at least 3 pre-existing health conditions. They don't mention that, right? Or if they do mention it, they mention it like 3/4 down the page, so that people who are just skimming the article or who don't even read the article and just read the headline are gonna like freak out, like, oh my God, 600 people died today. But they don't get the whole story. Another pattern in newscasts is that the breaking news story doesn't go beyond a surface level. It's like what I just said. The need to get the story to the ratings often causes reporters to bypass thorough fact-checking. As the first story develops to a second level in later reports, the reporter corrects the inaccuracies and missing elements. As the process of fact-finding continually changes, so does the news story. What journalists first reported with intense emotion or sensationalism is no longer accurate. What occurs psychologically for the viewer is a fragmented sense of knowing what's real, which sets off feelings of hopelessness and helplessness, experiences known to worsen depression. So this is kind of like what I said earlier, right? They're not outright lying, right? They're not saying like the coronavirus is killing people. You know, most of the people who die from the coronavirus are between 10 and 35 years old. You guys should be totally worried about this. They're just omitting the fact. They're omitting like the demographics of who this is happening to in this case, in most cases from what I've seen. They'll focus on how like whatever, some random country just ordered a lockdown of all its citizens as the total cases of coronavirus skyrockets to 26. You know what I mean? It's like just using that type of language to make people freak out. An additional practice that heightens anxiety and depression is the news station's use of the crawl, the scrolling headline ticker that appears at the bottom of the television, communicating, quote, breaking news, unquote. Individuals who watch news-based programming are likely to see 1, 2, or even 3 crawls across the screen. The multitasking required to read the scrolls and comprehend the actual newscast comes easy to some viewers. Where others report feeling overstimulated, I never really had an issue with this when I was watching the news. I kind of like the crawl just because like sometimes what you're watching is boring, but you can always read the like little thing. I guess, but it's just, I guess the idea is that it's like more opportunities for them. If they're only talking about a story, there's only one thing that they can scare you about. Whereas if they're talking about a story and they have essentially headlines scrolling across the screen, all these headlines that are designed to like freak people out, clickbait basically, then it's more chances of them to like, you know, get people to stay, I guess. They can get more hooks into you. One could easily change the channel to interrupt the transmission of such information. However, crawls are not regulated to just news channels. Unlike the viewing experience of the past, crawls are now more prominent during entertainment programs and often serve as commercials for nightly newscasts or the upcoming weekly news magazine show. The crawls frequently contain fear-driven material, broadsiding an unsuspecting viewer. It's been said that fear-based media has become a staple of popular culture. The distressing fallout from this trend is that children and adults who are exposed to the media are more likely than others to feel that their neighborhoods and communities are unsafe, believe that crime rates are rising, overestimate the odds of becoming a victim, consider the world to be a dangerous place. News media needs to return to a sense of proportion, conscience, and most important, truth-telling. Until that happens, help inoculate yourself against feeling overwhelmed by doing the following. We'll get to that in a second. Well, okay, fine. Consider limiting your exposure to the media. Give yourself a set time once or twice a day to check in on local or global happenings. Consider choosing print media for your information gathering rather than visual media. This can reduce the likelihood that you get exposed to emotionally laden material. Homepages on the internet can give you an overall sense of what's going on, as can headline news channels that update stories on the hour. Remember that you have the power to turn off the remote, leave a website, or change the radio station. Don't let yourself be passive when you feel media is overwhelming you. Know that other people will have a different tolerance for media stories and their details. If someone is expressing too much of a story for your own comfort, walk away or communicate your distress. Consider having an electronic free day and let your senses take in the simpler things in life. Okay, so this is what I want to focus. Like this, I guess this is all good advice. To me, this is like obvious. I haven't watched the news. I never watch the news. I never pay attention to the news. Now, obviously, like I feel a responsibility to combat the hysteria. Strangely, like I normally don't care about anybody except myself, really, just being honest with you. But now I see this hysteria as like a threat to my way of life that I think is unwarranted. So I feel a responsibility to combat it because nobody's doing it. And if you just let the hysteria like spiral out of control, then it's going to snowball and when are we ever going to get out of this? But really quick about this, sense of proportion, yes. Conscience, oh shit, good luck with that. Truth-telling. Again, I'm not saying they're outright lying, right? Media's not outright lying about what's going on. They are misleading with, they're just misleading with how they're languaging things. So to illustrate this point, let's type in the Google coronavirus. Italy, pandemic's new epicenter, has lessons for the world. Coronavirus, here, wait, let's click on news. Coronavirus live updates, global toll rises, WHO expert says lockdowns are not enough, right? New York Times is one of the worst fucking, like, media outlets ever. I used to think the New York Times was like a great publication. I was like, wow, the New York Times, like they're really well known and really serious. But, you know, and this is not something I'm realizing now. It's just, I'm disgusted with them. Global toll rises. WHO expert says lockdowns aren't enough. This makes you like, this is like fear-based. You understand? Coronavirus UK. How many confirmed cases are in your local area, right? This is also designed to scare people. How many cases are in your area? Oh my God. Let me click on this to see how many are in my area because I'm scared. Corona cases top 300,000 worldwide, live updates. This is not untrue, right? This is not factual, right? This is, I'm assuming, a true statement. I haven't like checked everybody individually, but like it doesn't make sense that they would lie about this. But when you put this in a headline, it's designed to scare people. Coronavirus in the day the music died in Nashville. Again, it's like more bad news. First federal inmate test positive for coronavirus, right? It's like, again, more fear. Everything is fear-based. Do you understand? Air pollution falls. Okay, all right. Air pollution falls as coronavirus slows travel, but scientists warn of longer-term threat to climate change process. It's like, oh, this could be good news, but it's actually really bad news. Coronavirus shut down Sin City, creating potentially devastating situation for Las Vegas. Right? More bad news. Washington Post, also god-awful publication. Like, I wonder, like, how people live with themselves who work there. Coronavirus in New York. Cuomo orders lockdown, shuts down non-essential businesses. It's all just fear. You know what I mean? Technically, it's not untrue, but they're choosing to post these headlines and stories that, like, are going to scare people. Governor Gavin Newsom just slow-walked California into a mass retreat from the virus. Again, coronavirus live updates. $1,200 checks almost in the mail as Senate negotiates stimulus. Trump offers North Korea help. This, I'm not sure about Overwatch Wire, but like this could be seen as negative as well if you like hate North Korea, I guess. Italy coronavirus. Death toll spikes again, up 793 in 24 hours. Again, I'm not saying this is untrue, but what the headline doesn't say here is that deaths in Italy rise as, you know, as it becomes obvious that like people who are 80 plus and have pre-existing health conditions are the most at risk. You know what I mean? That doesn't scare people. That gives people hope. And you don't want to give people hope because people read that and be like, oh, okay, I guess it's not so bad. I don't need to read this. Short-term thinking plagues Trump's coronavirus response. So like even on the first page, everything is fear-based. That's the point here, right? Everything is designed to scare you. And then what people do is they go on Facebook and they parrot this shit because they're also scared. And like, I don't want to, you know, turn this into like a gender issue, but like women are generally more scared than men in general about everything. They're more cautious. They're more risk averse, less willing to take a chance really on anything, which comes from like an evolutionary standpoint. It makes sense. Obviously, you don't want the mom who's got the kids to go out and take crazy risks because then if something happens to her, the kids would die. The dad or the male, whatever, who's arguably more expendable, because he doesn't need to nurse the children, is the one who should go out and do that. Also because he's bigger, stronger, I would say smarter, but another topic. So women who are more likely to be on Facebook, really, you know, that's just a statistic, who are also a little bit older, and older people are also more paranoid and more scared of everything. They're spreading this stuff. Like the media creates the fear story that infects the middle-aged women, let's say, and then they spread that to Facebook, which infects all the other people who are on Facebook, and mainly middle-aged women as well, you know, and then shit happens. U.S. hospitals prepare guidelines for who gets care. Oh my God, will I get care? Oh, I need to click on this and see right now. A fresh wave of corona job losses is about to come crashing down, you know, more fear. It's like they could have made an article here about all the new job openings that are opening up, right? But no, they didn't. The best case outcome for the coronavirus and the worst. Coronavirus deaths spike abroad as New York City becomes something. Anyway, I hate everything. I hate everybody. But other than that, if you agree with this, I mean, and this is not something that is new, that the media uses fear to like get ratings. It's just that now it's reached the tipping point where people are actually like hysterical, and now the governments are getting involved. So like now it's a big problem. So I encourage you, you don't have to share this video, but like share this at least, right? This Psychology Today article, share this on Facebook. Plant the seed of doubt in people's minds that like maybe there's more to the picture than what they actually think. Just plant the seed of doubt in their mind. You don't have to go on a campaign. You don't have to rage against people. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to respond to any of their comments. Just post this and let the article do the talking, okay? If you guys have anything to add about that, if you have any other studies maybe that might help like bring this whole thing together a little bit sooner rather than later, let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace.